Hi, I'm Rigger. This is You Alright, and we are going to, yet again, continue down the path of the Avatar. Last time, we met a blue spirit, and, turns out we knew that guy. But, can't remember his name though. Doesn't matter. This time, I have no idea what's gonna happen, but someone apparently will be able to tell us, because, it's supposed to be a fortune teller. So, before we head down that path, of course, be sure to like the video if you like it, share the video if you think someone else would like it, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and subscribe if you want to see more. But that aside, let us not dwell in the mired pools of not knowing our future, and let's learn from someone who apparently can tell us. So, that being said, I will see you on the other side. Alright, and that was the fortune teller. You know, when I was, just a second ago, when I was, looking at my notes and looking at, I was tempted to say filler, but I don't think so. Obviously the Great Divide, absolute filler. Here, we have an exploration of something that it's one of those things that's going to be throughout the show, but at least we're confronting it a little bit. It's not, fate of the world relevant, but it is interesting. And it's dealing with the idea of fortune telling and interpretation, and also love. Love is a huge element to this episode. So we'll do plot. The gang is hanging out, and they come across a man under attack from a platypus bear, which is fun. And he is calmly dodging its attacks, and it's fine. And you think, oh, maybe this guy's a master or something, and everyone's worried for him. Do this, shouting conflicting and ridiculous advice at him. And he seems incredibly calm, and that it's fine. Eventually, Aang jumps in and helps, and Appa comes in clutch and scares it off, because he's still bigger. And the man thanks them, and he's very calm, and they say, why? And he says, well, Aunt Wu predicted I would have a safe journey, saying that she is the fortune teller of his village. And they go, okay, fortune telling. And he hands them a package, and he says, she said if I met any travelers, then I should give them this. They open it, and it's an umbrella, and perfectly at that time it starts raining. So that indicates, weird predictive powers. But we will say before this, when they're hanging out and fishing, there is a moment where Sokka wants to get a fish that is jumping around. And he goes to fish for it, and his fishing line is empty. There's no fishing line on it. And he goes, where's the fishing line? And Aang says he has it, and he's woven it. And he's like, oh, thanks, it's tangled now. He says, no, tangled, woven. He says, Katara, I made you a necklace to replace the one you're missing, which is nice because I like the necklace coming back. She says, oh, it's lovely. And she puts it on and goes, how does it look? And we get a fantasy sequence, an Aang looking at her, and we get sparkles and lovely music, okay, and blushies and everything. And we get the idea. And, Katara just, Sokka says, oh, kissy kissy, whatever, making jokes. And Katara just says, he's a good friend, stop making fun of him. And Aang goes, okay. So anyway, fast forward to the village, and they go and meet this fortune teller. And when they meet her assistant is a young girl who has the same thing, fantasy sequence and blushies about Aang. And we learn that he has big ears, and she was told by Aunt Wu she would fall for someone with big ears. So this is clearly her man, right? Aang is going to be her man. And one by one, they have their fortunes read. Sokka just gets dismissed. Says you're going to have a hard life because you're undoing. And but Katara asks about her love life and is told she will be with a powerful bender. And Aang asks for his fortune, and she predicts a great battle and is scared by what she sees, and he brushes it off because he already knew that. And he asks about his love life, and she clearly makes up something. That he should just follow his heart, gives him base advice. But he's like, oh, I see that if you follow your heart, you'll find who you love, etc. Anyway, so it turns out that this entire village really runs on Aunt Wu's predictions. And this village is built on a volcano ledge. And they had a tradition of checking the volcano every year to see how dangerous it was looking. But since Aunt Wu has come, they haven't needed to for the last 20 years. She reads the clouds and tells them if it will explode or not. She does so this time and reads that the town will not be destroyed by the volcano. And Katara is becoming increasingly more reliant on Aunt Wu's predictions, asking her everything, to the point of annoying the hell out of Aunt Wu. And she doesn't charge or anything, she isn't scamming people, but it's gone from who will I marry and what is my future to what should I eat for breakfast, becoming incredibly reliant on this idea. And Aang has seen from another village member that he presented a rare flower to a woman, and that won her heart, and it was predicted that she would fall in love with someone who presented her with this flower. So Aang gets it in his head that he should pick one of these flowers to impress Katara. He's gone to Sokka for advice about girls. Sokka thinks he's talking about the little assistant girl and gives him terrible, boys' advice. Be aloof and don't be too interested. And then when he's not interested in her, thinks that he's following his advice. But anyway, they go up the mountain to get one of these flowers, which grow right on the rim of the volcano. Once they're up there, they see it's going to explode, imminently. This is, of course, incredibly dangerous, but running back to the village to warn everyone, they think, well, Sokka's the guy who's been talking about how he doesn't care, he's been shouting about how he doesn't believe, and no one will believe Aang, because everything that Aunt Wu says comes true, so, there's no reason to listen, even though the volcano is literally exploding behind them. And it gets to the point where they realize they need to do something. So they go to steal Aunt Wu's Book of Clouds, because they have a plan. Upon trying to steal the book, Aang can't find it, and it's Mang, the little assistant girl, has it. She admits to stalking him and is upset that he isn't interested in her. But he gives her reassuring advice that he is sure she will find someone who loves her, and she has noted how interested Aang is in Katara, and talks about how lovely she is, but he says he relates to her, that she doesn't notice him either. And, anyway, they take the cloud book, and on Appa, they reshape the clouds. Katara and Aang use their bending, as well as Appa's flying, to reshape the clouds into the one that means destruction coming. They then ask Aunt Wu to read the clouds again. She sees incoming danger, and the town panics. So they work together under Aang's leadership to gather any earthbenders in the town and those who are able to go and dig channels for the lava to try and get it around the town and, basically hope. And then once it gets too bad, they tell everyone to run. The channels, the volcano erupts quite spectacularly, and the channels aren't going to be enough. It is too much, it's about to overflow. And, boulders are starting to land that have been blown off the top, and it's all pretty ominous. And Aang at the last second pulls off an amazing feat of airbending, causing a huge gust that cools a huge wave of lava to harden and create a wall to hold back the rest of the lava flow. Then upon returning to... at this point, Katara was told she would marry a great bender, a very powerful bender. And at this point, Sokka makes an off-head comment about how powerful Aang is at bending, and she gets that look of, wait, I hadn't considered that. Yeah, what did you say? He is a really powerful bender, isn't he? So, maybe. And then we get the wrap-up in the village where they talk about maybe you shouldn't always rely on just predictions. And then they point out that, well, she predicted the town wouldn't be destroyed by a volcano when it wasn't. Yeah, you stepped in and changed things, but perhaps she was still correct because this was all meant to happen. And, I don't know, it's they sort of leave it ambiguous, and Aang says to her that you didn't really see love in my future, you just made up something nice to tell me. And she says, well, just like this instance, you can change your own future if you'd like. You could, it is yours to shape. So, that's quite nice. And they fly off. And we get a nice little joke at the end with the loveliest little assistant girl calling Katara floozy under her breath, which is funny. So let's talk themes, because obviously this isn't huge plot, this isn't life-changing, this is a stop-in little episode. But I like the idea that we're exploring this idea of, we're moving out of fanships and into, let's actually talk about relationships and talk about romance and young love and crushes and how things work, and also this idea of predictions and how reliant you should be on, and faith and things like this. And it's not explored to its deepest, but I think it is interesting to talk about, because you have circumstance versus logic, right? So, for instance, how could she predict that it was going to rain? How could, all these things, right? And she predicted the town wouldn't be destroyed, and it wasn't, but only because of intervention. It was the intervention involved in the prediction. And Sokka is quick to point this out. He finds a man with red shoes and says, I bet you that Wu told you to wear those red shoes. He says, of course she did. She said, if I wore these, I would find my true love. I'd be wearing these on the day I found her. And then he said, well, how many days have you worn them now? He said, ever since she told me. Well, of course you'll run into your true love if you wear them every day, because you'll then be wearing them the day you find him. And he just takes this as reassurance, saying, I will, thank you so much. And it points out the logic in that, the logical flaw. And you obviously see even Wu getting annoyed at people like Katara who become reliant on the idea of, what should I eat for breakfast? That doesn't matter, you can see her wanting to just tell her it doesn't matter. But, it's an interesting idea, the faith versus, you shouldn't ignore the volcano literally exploding behind you. But maybe you can take comfort in some of the small things you're told. But, obviously this is a very, shippy episode, so let's talk about it. I really like Aang and Katara. I find find that cute. As much as Aang is my least favorite of the three, I find his interactions with Katara and them bonding to be very nice. And ever since the beginning, I've said, like, you know, he clearly has like a thing for her, and it's getting legitimate. And he makes a proper confession this episode. He says, like, I like you, but not like normal. But she doesn't hear him in the crowd. You know, very anime style, where they're in a noisy crowd and he literally admits it and she doesn't hear him. And she's very much ignoring him or wrapped up in her own thoughts the whole episode, which he takes as not rejection, but obviously she's not interested in him. And it takes until this. He's such a powerful bender. Oh, yeah, I guess he is, you know, because of the powerful bender prediction. It takes till then for her to think about it. But, you know, him giving her the necklace and him getting the blushies, and when she's like, how do I look? And he says the line, all of you or just your neck? Because it's all great, which is, wow, Aang. Wow, you really weren't trying to hide that. And she somehow didn't take it properly, but okay. But yeah, I really enjoyed that because, okay, obviously they're younger, but it's like, the whole show could be a will they, won't they. I don't know how it ends up, but I would be happy if they got together properly by the end of this, because there is a thing there. They have a chemistry, they have a connection. And I'm sure there's other ships and other fan ships and other people that'll come in and out of this, but it's just, I don't know. It has been one aspect I've quite enjoyed, especially of Aang. It's one side of him that I really like. Oh, weird note. I want to say, Appa looked extra majestic this episode. Don't know how to explain that. When he scared off the platypus bear and then he was walking to the village, maybe he was just animated with more weight or something when he was walking, but he just looked extra imposing and big. Outside of saving the town with shaping the clouds, he wasn't really central to this episode. I just noticed it. I don't know, whoever animated him this episode did really well. So, just a minor note. I do like that we get callbacks to the fantasy sequences. So we have the one with Aang and with Katara, but then as soon as we get to the village, Mang, the little assistant girl, has one about Aang, and he clearly, you know, even in her fantasy, he's like in his, like, you know, totally shut down pose, not even paying attention, but she sees him in all sparklies because she was told that she would fall in love with someone like him. But I wanted to mention the cloud bending. I mentioned that ages ago, when we visited the Kirinoshi, or however you pronounced it, the town with the female clan. They talked about clouds. I said I wanted to see if them like throw clouds at enemies or whatever, but reshaping clouds, that counts, you know, using the science of, yeah, they're full of water. And they mentioned that this episode to give a little foreshadowing, like, can your science explain why it rains? Yes, actually it can. You know, clouds are water, etc. But yeah, the love and destiny is an interesting point to sort of, you know, how do you take it? Could you predict the future? Because she made some predictions that can't be ignored, but she also, you know, we see the dangers of relying on that. Although I do have a big criticism this episode. Where did the necklace go? Where did the necklace go? Because it does look really nice on her, and she did, and it was a sincere gift, and she liked it, and it was central to kicking off this plot, and it's gone by the time she gets to the town and she's never wearing it again. I'm upset. Bring back the necklace. Justice for necklace. Justice for fishing line necklace. I don't care that in real life it would probably not be that great. Give it back. She actually looked really nice in it. Broke up the color scheme. It had a pink flower and everything. So, justice for the necklace, bring it back. I also wanted to say that despite the, I don't know, there's been lots of talk about the whole friend zone thing, and that does come up in this, like, you know, Katara just calls him a friend, and, you know, we're not talking when they're adults and, friend zone because women shouldn't owe you something, like that's a very complicated and more advanced social issue, and that's talking about more than just crushes. But you see there that I just wanted to point out that I've really enjoyed Aang's expression work. So when she mentioned him as he's a great friend, you see his expression switch. And, you know, as for a show that, you know, is again aimed at kids, you get a lot out of his expression. You know, he doesn't have to say everything. The expression works really excellent, which is important, you know. It sells it. It's not just, I'm saying how I'm feeling. Words. No, like his face and his stance, his shoulders, they all really get across the message. But anyway, I think that's about it, because we don't have a huge lot to dwell on, but we do have some interesting points. So I think that's all for now. Until next time, remember, if you ever do come across a fortune teller who can actually predict the future, never forget to ask them what question you're supposed to ask, because then you won't get it wrong. Anyway, my name is Rigger. Hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope I did alright.